In the year 2004, inside the quiet but vibrant environment of the University of Benin, a hidden tension began to grow, one that would later spark a serious campus conflict between two well-known groups, the Buccaneers and the Moffat confraternity. Many students walked around the school unaware of what was building beneath the surface, but those deep inside the campus system knew that something unusual was taking shape. At the center of this rising tension was a young man named Yomi Edeki. Yomi had entered the University of Benin in the late 1990s to study dentistry, a course that demanded discipline, long hours, and absolute focus. He was bright, calm, and ambitious, one of those students people naturally respected without him trying too hard. Yomi came from a family that already had a strong history in the campus world. He had 3 elder brothers, and all 3 were known members of the Black Axe confraternity. Among them was a popular figure called Femi, a medical student who had already made a name for himself both academically and socially. Because of this strong family background, many people automatically expected Yomi to follow the same path. His brothers did not hide their expectations either. From the moment Yomi stepped foot on campus, they encouraged him, sometimes directly, sometimes subtly, to join the same group they belonged to. In their eyes, it was only natural, it was the family tradition, the familiar path, and they believed it would give Yomi protection and identity. But Yomi was different. It wasn't that he was against confraternities or afraid of the lifestyle. He simply did not feel connected to the Black Axe movement the same way his brothers did. The ideology did not excite him, the lifestyle did not match his personality, and the sense of belonging he was supposed to feel never came. Instead, his interest was pulled in a completely different direction. Yomi admired the Buccaneers, their dressing style, their calm way of carrying themselves, and their unique traditions. To him, they represented something that aligned more closely with the type of life he wanted to live in the university. And so, very early into his stay on campus, he made a personal decision to join them instead. This decision quietly surprised many people around him. Some saw it as an act of courage, others saw it as unnecessary stubbornness. But to Yomi, it was simply a matter of choice, a choice he was fully ready to stand by. Even though the Buccaneers were known to be less aggressive compared to groups like the Black Axe, the truth remained the same across all confraternities. Once you joined, you accepted that anything could happen at any time. No group was truly safe. An ordinary misunderstanding, a personal disagreement, or even a decision made by someone else could easily bring trouble to your doorstep. Being less confrontational did not guarantee peace. Sometimes, it only meant that when trouble eventually came, it came unexpectedly. Yomi understood this reality, yet he remained confident. He believed he could balance his academic goals, his personal choices, and his confraternity involvement without running into major issues. However, what he did not know was that the seeds of a future campus crisis were already being planted, and eventually, he would find himself right in the middle of it. As the year 2003 slowly came to an end and the Christmas season approached, the University of Benin was already settling into its usual holiday mood. Students were busy writing their last exams, packing their bags, and preparing to travel home. The atmosphere was calm, and nothing suggested that a major event was about to shake the entire campus. But in the middle of this peaceful period, something shocking happened, an incident that would change the relationship between two confraternities on campus for many years. At the heart of the event was a young engineering student known as Ojo Mokovelli. On campus, Mokovelli was not just an ordinary student, he was the number 2 man, the second in command of the Moffat confraternity. Many people respected him for his confidence, his leadership abilities, and the way he kept himself together even under pressure. That was why his sudden fall came as a complete surprise to everyone. According to reports that later spread through the campus, Mokovelli was attacked by a group of Buccaneers members. The incident happened quickly, and before help could come, he was already gone. It was a moment that left many students confused and scared because nobody expected something that serious to happen at that time of the year. What made the situation even more confusing was the absence of a clear reason behind the attack. Rumors began to move from hostel to hostel, and students shared different stories based on what they believed. Some people said Mokovelli may have had a personal disagreement with certain Buccaneers members, and that the incident could have grown from a private misunderstanding. Others strongly believed it was simply part of the ongoing rivalry between groups, something planned by the Buccaneers without any personal reason attached. But the biggest shock to many was the identity of the attackers. The Buccaneers were not usually known for planning unprovoked hits or trying to prove power by targeting high-ranking members of other groups. They mostly minded their business, carried on quietly, and avoided actions that could escalate tension. That was why the fall of Machiavelli took everyone completely by surprise. Once the news spread, the entire Moffat group was thrown into deep anger and frustration. Losing any member was painful, but losing the number 2 man, the second in command, was on a different level. The timing made it even worse. While other students were preparing for Christmas with excitement and relief, the Moffites were filled with grief and agitation. Their mood for the holiday season was destroyed instantly. People who knew them said the atmosphere within the group became tense overnight. Conversations became shorter, movements became more coordinated, and the silence among them carried a message: this matter would not be forgotten. After the fall of Machiavelli, students eventually vacated the campus for the Christmas holiday. But deep inside the hearts of the Moffat members, a storm was already growing. They were determined to respond. They were determined to restore their pride. And they were determined to send a strong message to anyone watching. This tragic incident, which happened quietly but powerfully, marked the true beginning of what would later become a historic clash between the Buccaneers and the Moffat confraternity at the University of Benin, a conflict that would pull many people into it, including Yomi Edeki. When the Christmas break ended and students returned to the University of Benin in January 2004, the campus looked peaceful once again. Lectures resumed, hostels came alive with noise and laughter, and everyone acted as though the painful incident that took the life of Machiavelli had faded with the holiday season. To an outsider, it seemed like the campus had healed. But in reality, nothing was healed. The Moffat confraternity had not forgotten, not even for a moment. Losing their number 2 man, someone who was basically the deputy leader of the entire group, was a blow that cut deep. They might have remained quiet during the first few weeks of school, but that silence was not peace. It was preparation. It was the kind of calm that comes before a storm. Many students moved around as usual, unaware that the Moffites were patiently watching, planning, and waiting for the right moment to strike back. Their minds were fixed on one thing: revenge. Then, on the 4th of February 2004, their plan finally went into action. That day, a Moffat hit squad secretly mobilized themselves. Their target was not just any Buccaneer member, they wanted someone whose fall would send a strong message back to the Buccaneers. And the person they chose was Yomi Edeki, the young dentistry student who stood out because of his family background and personal decisions. Yomi did not join the Black Axe like his brothers. He had chosen the Buccaneers because it matched his personality and lifestyle. But unfortunately, this personal choice was the very reason he ended up on the Moffat's revenge list. In their eyes, striking Yomi would hurt the Buccaneers and also shake the campus because of the influence of his older brothers. On that February afternoon, the Moffat squad tracked Yomi to Technical College Road, located in the Ogbowo area very close to the school campus. It was a busy road, filled with students, locals, bikemen, and traders, so Yomi felt safe walking there. He never imagined that anything dangerous could happen in such a public place. But the Moffites had already made up their minds. The moment they identified him, they moved in quickly and without hesitation. Before Yomi could react or even understand what was happening, they launched their attack. It was sudden, fast, and well coordinated. People around were shocked, confused, and afraid to interfere. By the time help finally reached him, Yomi was already badly wounded. He was rushed immediately to the University of Benin Teaching Hospital, a place meant to save lives. His brothers were notified. Buccaneers members hurried to the hospital. Students whispered the news across campus in fear and disbelief. Doctors tried their best, but his injuries were too severe. A short while later, Yomi Edeki was pronounced dead. The news spread like fire. Many students could not believe that someone like Yomi, a quiet, ambitious young man studying dentistry, someone who even avoided unnecessary trouble, could fall so suddenly. What made it even sadder was the irony: Yomi had joined a confraternity that was not as prone to violent confrontations as the Black Axe. Yet somehow, he ended up losing his life before his brothers who belonged to a more feared group. His fall became one of the most painful and unexpected losses in the early months of 2004. And at that moment, the balance on campus shifted again. The Murphites had taken their revenge. But unknowingly, they had just opened the door to a bigger, more heated clash that was only beginning. When Femi, the older brother of Yumi Edeki, received the heartbreaking news that his younger brother had passed away, his entire world collapsed instantly. Femi had always been the strong one in the family, confident, bold, and already known across the University of Benin campus as a medical student who belonged to the Black Axe confraternity. But the moment he heard what happened to Yumi, all that confidence vanished. He was inconsolable. He cried openly, and those who saw him said they had never witnessed him in such a broken state before. Losing a sibling is painful, but losing one in such a sudden and violent way was something he could not process. But mixed with his pain was fear. Even though Femi belonged to a different confraternity, he feared the Murphites might still come after him. To them, he was Yumi's brother. And because both siblings were often seen together on campus, he worried that the Murphites might mistakenly think he had been influencing Yumi or encouraging him to support the Buccaneers. In his mind, anything was possible. His fear grew so much that he decided he could no longer remain on campus. He quietly packed his belongings, left his hostel, and went away for some time to protect himself and to recover from the shock of losing his brother. While he was away, tension on campus continued to rise. A month after Yumi's fall, final-year medical students were writing their recit examinations at the lecture theater in the College of Medical Sciences. Students were trying to focus on their papers, lecturers were supervising, and everything seemed normal on the surface. But beneath that calmness, something was already in motion. The Buccaneers had decided that they could no longer remain silent. They felt that the Murphites had crossed a line by targeting Yumi, someone who was not even a high-ranking member. To them, the incident demanded a response. Their chosen target was a young medical student known as Vincent. Vincent was a repeat final-year student, a quiet, intelligent young man who was simply trying to finish school. But unknown to many people around him, he belonged to the Murphite confraternity. This connection placed him in danger without him even knowing it. On the day of the recit exam, the Buccaneers struck. Witnesses later said that Vincent was taken by surprise. Some Buccaneers members reportedly took him aside at gunpoint and moved him toward a secluded area of the college car park. It happened quickly, before he had the chance to call for help or raise an alarm. In that lonely corner of the car park, the Buccaneers carried out their plan. Vincent lost his life there, becoming the second student from the College of Medical Sciences to fall in this growing conflict between the Buccaneers and the Murphites. When the news reached the school, students and lecturers across the college were deeply disappointed and shocked. Medical students were expected to be among the most focused and disciplined on campus, future doctors, future surgeons, people who would one day save lives. Discovering that some of them were involved in confraternity activities brought sadness and disbelief to the entire college. After Vincent's fall, the situation worsened. The back-and-forth attacks between both confraternities continued, and several more students from both sides lost their lives. Fear spread across campus. Hostels locked their doors early. Students avoided late-night outings. And parents became more worried about their children in the university. It was a dark period in the history of the school, one that showed how dangerous these confraternity clashes could become and how quickly innocent dreams could be destroyed. This story is a reminder to everyone. Say a no to cultism. Say a no to crime. Say yes to peace, progress, and a bright future.